There have been some stories in the news over the past few weeks concerning incidents at high school football camps. Now, if you take a large number of teenagers anywhere and you house them overnight, all sorts of things can happen. Coaches have to really make sure that they take all the precautions they can to protect players and to protect themselves if something goes wrong. Now, I've got a number of camp stories, and I'll give you one this week about the year we went to camp with a future Heisman winner. First year I was at Leesville Road High School in Raleigh, I took my team to camp at Lenore Ryan College in Hickory, North Carolina. Facilities were good. Food was good. Camp was well run. So I actually ended up going back a second year. Wayne Hicks was the head coach at Lenore Ryan in those days. He did a good job of organizing and running a camp. We didn't go back for a third year because Coach Hicks got fired. He apparently did a better job of running camps than winning games. But that's just part of the business. As soon as we got there, the coach from one of the other teams asked me if I wanted to scrimmage. He was an old timer who had come back to coaching after several years out, and there had been some changes over that period of time. I told him no, we didn't bring our pads. I didn't want to get into the whole it's against the rules thing. But then he said, we have extra we can loan you. At that point, the only response I had left was, it's against the rules, and I don't want to get in trouble. He had an answer for that as well. Nobody will know. My answer, I will, and my players will. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a great guy with a distinguished record. He just wasn't a rule follower. There are plenty of rule followers in the profession and plenty of non-rule followers as well. But he did keep me in stitches the whole time we were at camp. They did manage to find a team to scrimmage them in full pads against the rules. Afterwards, I asked him how it went. Not good, he said. We got a long way to go. These boys are about as soft as a mouse pissing on cotton. He was right. They struggled mightily. In fact, the school he was at struggled mightily nearly every year. At one point, many years later, that same school hired a former assistant of mine as head coach. I don't know what references they contacted before making that hire, but it sure as hell wasn't me. I could have told them the full-blown disaster that awaited them. The guy was a one and done with me. It might have been less than one. At every camp on a college campus, one of the attractions is that each day the college coaches run a practice themselves. Players love the idea that they're working with a college coach and that they are being seen. Now, being recruited doing drills at a team camp may seem far-fetched to some. I will say that I have had some players actually receive an official offer after going through one of those sessions, but it's rare. I've also taken players to team camp where it was not on a college campus, but the camp organizers had a practice period where they brought in a number of college coaches to run a session of practice and recruit the kids. The players were always excited for it. But back to the Lenore Ryan camp. One day during the college coach period, the older coach had a player who was sitting out of that part of practice. He wanted to sit in the shade under the stands. Coach looked over to him and said, "Peanut, why aren't you out there practicing?" Peanut stretched out in the shade, said, "My leg's sore." Coach came back with, "You need some heat on it. Get out there in the sun and let it warm it up." This was a camp we referred to as the Tebow camp. When we showed up Sunday for camp to begin, we were told there would be an additional team coming in from Florida on Monday. Sure enough, they rolled in on their chartered buses on Monday from some camp they had been to up north. Michigan, I think it was. Could not imagine why a team from Florida had traveled that far for camp. I would eventually find out why. So they were directed to the same dorm we were in. They had what appeared to be some really good-looking athletes. As they settled into their rooms, I struck up a conversation with one of their assistant coaches. Or at least I thought that's what he was. He looked like a grown man. He had a room to himself rather than a shared room. But he didn't seem to know a lot about their plans for the week, which kind of surprised me. Until we went out for 7-on-7 that evening and I saw that he was not a coach. He was the team's quarterback. It was Tim Tebow. Now, they had a number of Division I players on that team, including Tebow and the backup quarterback. They destroyed every team they played there in the 7-on-7. Hell, we weren't even good enough to be scheduled to go up against them. My newfound coaching friend, however, managed to arrange for his team to play them. It was a disaster, but his description of it was classic. We couldn't have touched them if we'd been playing in a phone booth, he said. They were so fast. One of them ran by me and my whistle did this. He added, grabbing his whistle lanyard and pulling it very quickly to one side. Now, it was the first year for me with our team, and all we had together was some summer workouts. So obviously, they were going to test the limits with the new coach. One of our players brought hair trimmers to camp. That's not unusual, even going back to my time as a player, for players to cut their hair, shave their heads, even get mohawks at camp or at the beginning of football seasons. Of course, their mothers always hated that. It does get hot in those helmets. So anyhow, they set up a barbershop in one of the rooms. I told them I was fine with it, but there better not be any hair cutting of anyone who didn't want their hair cut. Sure enough, 2 days in, here comes a bald-headed freshman crying. Last time I saw him before that, he had long blonde hair. Now he had none. He was in tears. He said they grabbed him, shaved his head, even though he had told him he didn't want his head shaved. Now, I knew this kid could be a little much, but I also took that and the long hair as reason for them to have done it in the first place, even though they claimed he asked them to shave his head. I just didn't believe him. My first year with them, and I didn't know them well enough to know who to trust. And I needed them to understand that when they did something I told them not to do, there are going to be consequences. I took the perpetrators out and ran them. Ran them until I was tired. Ran them until my tongue hung out, as I used to like to say. I was hopping mad that they had done something I told them not to do. Now, the positive to the running was that when I took those who were involved out to run, the entire team, except one, joined them in the running voluntarily. The one, of course, was the kid with the shaved head. It was not until the next day that the roommate of the kid with the shaved head came to me and said, Coach, think you should know he told them to cut his hair. They were hesitant. Coach, he insisted. I asked if it was when he saw his head that he got upset. Nah, Coach, he was laughing and enjoying it. But he called his mom and told her they shaved his head, and she got really mad. So he told her that they forced him. She made him come to you. I'd been had. I'd wrongly punished them. Brought them in, told them I now knew the truth, was sorry I'd made them run. Coach, One of the leaders said, "It's okay. We've done some other stuff you don't know about, so we're even." I knew by that point what kind of players and leaders I had in this group. A year later, they would win 11 games and go to the third round of the state playoffs and follow that up with 13 wins and a trip to the state semifinals. There were some great young leaders in that group, 4 of whom would become captains for their college football team. I'll talk about that group in a later episode.
This has been an Aussie production.